So Diddy, after the Cassie lawsuit, gets hit with a bunch of lawsuits, and then ultimately the raids, and then...
Well, the things that I experienced with him were monster-like.
He slipped out under the cover of night. No fanfare, no trail, just a single carry-on and a weight of secrets that could bring down an empire. Gene Deal didn't just board a flight, he erased himself from the map like a man who'd heard the clock strike its final tick. Those close to the former bodyguard say he received not one but two warnings in the span of a week. First, a word from someone tied to Bad Boy Records telling him to disappear for good, and second, a silent message delivered in the form of a lone bullet casing on his welcome mat after a midnight knock with no face behind it. This wasn't paranoia, it was survival.
Once worked together a long time ago. They're not friends now. They don't like each other. And yeah, 50 has taken every...
Gene didn't see months ahead. He saw days, maybe hours. He wasn't running from a courtroom or ducking public shame. He was escaping the very machine he once helped operate. 4 years, he was Diddy's human shield, both in title and in truth. But now, with Diddy locked in federal custody, facing a mountain of charges that sound more like a streaming thriller than real life, Gene Deal may be the last man breathing who still knows where the skeletons were buried, and some might not be metaphorical. His destination? Europe. Far from the cameras, away from whispers dressed as promises, and out of reach of a power structure that never forgets. No interviews, no posts, no goodbye, just absence. But before his exit, he left behind something, a trail, not loud but chilling. In a sit-down with the art of dialogue, Gene spoke of a list, a so-called ledger of names, unverified, undocumented, but cross-referenced by people who said they saw it. A list of those who'd crossed a line, people who'd gone missing, lost their jobs, or turned up dead. It wasn't proof. It was a pattern. And as one former FBI profiler once said, in criminal ecosystems, it's never about who gives the order, it's about the atmosphere of control.
Are you surprised by the evidence that's already coming out in the criminal trial?
No, I'm not surprised. I experienced some of those things.
Diddy didn't build a company. He built a fortress where silence was paid in cash and dissent came with consequences. Former associates have whispered about hush money, sudden deals, NDAs that shut mouths before lawyers ever got involved. And with one of the trial's key witnesses now missing, Gene's sudden retreat overseas looks less like coincidence and more like prophecy. He knew something. Maybe too much. Maybe someone else's name was echoing in the wrong hallways. And beneath all of that, beneath the headlines and the federal heat, there was a betrayal few saw coming. Gene pulled the curtain back on what he called the most calculated move in the game, the alleged sale of Biggie's publishing. Not legacy. Not tribute. A liquidation. Fast money. Blood money. Gene said it wasn't for Ms. Wallace. Wasn't for the kids. He claims that while she was in hospice care, 2 longtime Diddy allies were finalizing the paperwork with his blessing. A move worth $150 million. All while the man Biggie once called brother stared down charges that could cage him for life. According to Gene, Ms. Wallace never trusted Diddy. Kept her distance at events. She knew something. Or at least felt
at Wendy and says, you know, you had a great career. Your career is over. It is never coming back. You're done.
Something. That unspoken weight that maybe, just maybe, he had more to do with 1997 than anyone will say out loud. And then there's the kill list. The whisper of names. Some believe Biggie should have never landed in LA. Some believe it was chess from the beginning, not war between coasts, but a clearing of the path for a new king. These aren't just blog rumors. Suge Knight said it. Greg Kading said it. Keefe D said it 47 times in one interview. And when you stack those whispers next to bribes, catalog sales, vanishing witnesses, it starts to look like a blueprint, not a breakdown. Gene, once the protector, is now the outcast. While Christian Combs, bare-chested and grinning, turned the courthouse steps into a stage. Push-ups for the cameras, smiles like the walls weren't closing in. Gene called it what it was, clown.
Same thing for Jeffrey Epstein. Now the interesting thing about the Epstein and the theory about Epstein is we know he filmed people for sure on that island. He has a lot of movies, a lot of films of people that are very, very powerful political figures. and entertainers, business people. So, do you really believe that Jeffrey Epstein himself? Of course not.
But this wasn't about foolishness. It was optics. Power flexed in daylight. A signal. Not just to the fans, but to anyone still holding the truth in their throat. The empire, wounded or not, still plays for keeps. Meanwhile, Victim 3, expected to deliver the most explosive testimony, has vanished. Not delayed. Gone. No contact. Her lawyer, too, suddenly facing personal issues. Convenient. Predictable. Classic. Another echo in the long hallway of intimidation and silence that's followed Diddy's shadow for years.
I'm gonna tell you why 50 is literally is a diabolical genius. And he's
And it's not speculation. It's in court filings. Calls from the detention center. Three-ways through other inmates. Cloaked communication under attorney privileges. Not a strategy. A playbook. And now, with a key witness gone and the only man who might tie the whole thing together on the run in Europe, the silence is loud enough to break glass. Because in this world, the loudest truth is the one no one dares to speak. Gene Deal is saying nothing. Which makes him, right now, the most dangerous man in hip-hop. He slipped out under the cover of night, no fanfare, no trail, just a single carry-on and a weight of secrets that could bring down an empire. Gene Deal didn't just board a flight, he erased himself from the map like a man who'd heard the clock strike its final tick. Those close to the former bodyguard say he received not one but two warnings in the span of a week. First, a word from someone tied to Bad Boy Records telling him to disappear for good, and second, a silent message delivered in the form of a lone bullet casing on his welcome mat after a midnight knock with no face behind it. This wasn't paranoia, it was survival. Gene didn't see months ahead, he saw days, maybe hours. He wasn't running from a courtroom or ducking public shame. He was escaping the very machine he